Well, CNN's chief business correspondent Christine Romers joins us now from New York to talk about how ISIS got rich. And it's a fairly comprehensive look at what ISIS has been doing to raise money, Christine.
It's almost like you can look at it as a company with revenues, but it is selling terror. It is selling an ideology, and that is what is just so frightening about the money behind the ISIS machine. About $2 billion in revenue last year, and earlier this year you were looking at about $40 million a month in oil revenue from ISIS. Oil, a very big part of this story. It has taken over oil fields. It has taken over trucking routes. It is taking over refineries, and it has been selling that oil. Now, here's what's so interesting. As there have been all of these airstrikes, strategic airstrikes, you've got refineries that have been shut down. You've got some cases in Syria and parts of Iraq where you have ISIS fighters who are actually sort of crudely refining crude oil in pits in the ground because they don't have the more high-tech refining capacity. So they're getting less money from oil revenue, and it's harder for them to get it. And oil prices have plunged, too. So there's sort of the oil part of this equation has really changed here pretty rapidly. Those U.S. airstrikes, U.S.-led airstrikes and airstrikes from other coalition members, they have taken out some 283 oil tanker trucks, 120 storage tanks, and an awful lot of the facilities, a significant amount of oil field equipment in Syria, we are told by government officials in this fantastic CNN Money analysis that you can read about the finances of ISIS. And then there's this other part of the attack, which is going after ISIS money, going after the money flows of ISIS. And that's something the Treasury Department has been working on for some time now. What they've done is they've closed about 90 banks that have been operating in ISIS-controlled territory inside Iraq. That's part of it here. They have sanctioned more than 30 ISIS leaders and ISIS-tied leaders and financiers. So they've shut down the money flows from those individuals, and they've tried to make cross-border financial transactions more difficult. But what's so interesting, Andrew, as well about this is that oil is part of that story, and oil has been more difficult. They haven't shut down the oil system, no question, but it has been made more difficult, those airstrikes and the air power over those oil fields and over that infrastructure. But there's also extortion. There are 8 million people who live under ISIS control in lands controlled by ISIS, 8 million. And so everything they do, every part of their public life, from getting in a car and traveling past a checkpoint to going to school, to going to the market, there are fees and taxes, the cost of doing business in ISIS territory that is still the number one source of income for this terror organization. So that's a part of the problem here. The more that the oil money is shut down, or restricted, I should say, because there is still a lot of oil money flowing, then they squeeze the money out of the people who are terrified living under ISIS control, Andrew.
And who obviously cannot leave those ISIS territories.